Hi everyone, Tasha here, and today we're going to create a fun slimline card for the Dare to Be Artsy and Brutus Monroe Instagram collab hop. I'll have all the details and the supplies used in the description box below. To start my project, I'm using these really nice rectangle slimline framelits from Dare to Be Artsy and a piece of their double-sided pattern paper. And I'm using the green with the polka dots, but this paper is awesome because both sides always have a really nice print that coordinate with each other. So I cut out with the largest framelit one piece of the pattern paper, and then with the second to largest framelit die, I cut out two pieces of white cardstock. And I'm going to use this to create the layered look. For the stenciling, I'm using this mixed media stencil from Brutus Monroe, and it's in rainbow. This stencil is fantastic. I've already used it for some projects, and the rainbow detail is really fun. I used some PIXIE spray to adhere the stencil to my cardstock and some purple tape. Those little rainbows have such a fine detail. I didn't want it to wiggle, and I wanted to make sure it was secure. So that one called for spray and tape. I started with some Distress Oxide ink in Kitsch Flamingo. This pink is a really pretty pastel pink. It's a light springy color, and I was kind of going for a rainbow that used the traditional colors but in a more pastel tone. I followed with some Squeezed Lemonade Distress Oxide ink. I love the pink and yellow combination, and then when you blend them together, you get a pretty orange tone in the middle, which I also like. So I do use pink and yellow together quite often. After the yellow, I went in with Tumbled Glass, and this blue again has that really nice pastel tone, and I use this one for sky a lot, or if I'm using a cloud stencil, and I think it works really well with that yellow color, and I followed it with some shaded lilac. This purple again is a pastel purple, so it works well with the other colors I used. And again, I'm following the normal rainbow colors, but I'm just using a pastel tone to them. So we still have like a red, but instead of red, we're using pink and so on. So I went in with some Versamark ink. I stamped it directly on my stencil. This way I didn't get the ink in the white areas. I just put it on top of my ink blending. I gently removed the stencil so I could do my embossing, and the embossing powder I used was called Fairy Dust from Brutus Monroe. This embossing powder is fantastic if you love sparkly things, which I do. It's kind of thick, but when you emboss with it, it's clear and glossy, and it has tons of sparkle. So this embossing powder is great because you can put it on top of any stamped background or colored image, and you'll get the same effect as a gloss or clear gloss embossing powder, but then you get all of the sparkle, and the sparkle doesn't come off on your hand because it's embossed. So for people who are scared to use loose glitter, this would be a perfect alternative. And I love anything that has sparkle, glitter, shimmer. I just love it all. So I'm going to take some Twisted Citron on that second piece of cardstock we cut, and I just really need to put it on the bottom half. I cut two pieces with that same size die because I wanted to create a layered look, and this way the sizing is the same. I went around the border with some Lucky Clover, and I do this a lot when I'm using bright colors because the dark border allows those colors to pop, and it gives kind of a glowing effect. I'm going to use this grass slimline die from Dare to Be Artsy. It's from the Land and Cloud border die set. And the cool thing is that with this die, it was one cut and it created both of my layers. For my stamping, I'm using the Crafty Gnome stamp set from Dare to Be Artsy. And I'm going to stamp the cute little crafty gnome character and 3 of the mushrooms. I'm using Dare to Be Artsy Totally Black ink for this. Dare to Be Artsy Totally Black ink is awesome. I use it all the time, and it's great for coloring with alcohol markers, which I do use Copics a lot, so it allows me to color and not have any smearing. So if you're looking for a nice dark hybrid ink, I would really recommend this black ink, and I've used it for years. To cut out my little images, I'm using the coordinating die set, which made it super easy and fast to cut out. And then I'm just going to go in with my Copic markers and color her up. I didn't video this since I did take a lot of time to color her, but this is my finished little Gnomie. I love coloring up her hair. She's one of my favorite stamps that I have. For the sentiment, I'm using this really fun Sunshine and Rainbow stamp set from D2BA Artzy. This is a nice large set where you can mix and match. I'm going in with Versamark ink again, and then I'm using some Alabaster White embossing powder from Brutus Monroe. This embossing powder is great because it's fine and it's nice for sentiments because it's not going to smear. But if you are embossing over a distress inked background or anything with ink, I would allow some time for it to dry. This way your embossing powder doesn't get stuck in the background area and you get a nice clean embossed image. So I did emboss it in white onto the green. It may be kind of hard to see on camera just because of the lighting, but in person you can see the sentiment perfectly clear. To attach my layers, I'm using the clear liquid glue from Brutus Monroe, and this glue is really nice. It's nice and strong. It's great for little fine pieces, but it also worked well for attaching my layers. I do like using liquid adhesive for layers because I'm not the best at layering. I'm not great at getting things centered, and the liquid adhesive allows some time for wiggle room. I'm using the same glue to attach my grassy layers. So this again was that extra piece, so we didn't waste anything. And then I'm going to attach the bottom piece with some foam tape. This will give some dimension, and I do think it looks really cool having the two layers of grass. So with just that one die cut, you get two pieces. You have like a layering look. It looks like you spent a whole bunch of time, you know, die cutting when it was really just one die cut, which is great. So after that was all attached, I made sure everything was glued down and secure. Then it's time to attach my little gnome and the mushrooms. So for her, I'm going to use one piece of foam tape for her head. This way she's even with that grassy bottom that we put the foam tape on. We don't want her to be attached and then bent backwards. So we had some foam on top, and then I put some score tape on the bottom so that she would be nice and secure and level and not bent backwards. For the little mushrooms though, I did want to make them look like they were coming out of the grass, like growing out of the grass. And these mushrooms are so fun and whimsical looking, so I used that clear glue and put it in between the two grassy layers and did make them slightly slanted. I just thought it was kind of fun. It kind of went with the gnome, and I just love it. I love these mushrooms, but I wasn't sure which other mushroom to use. So I decided to use the two that were similar in size. Sometimes I do that with accessories with stamp sets, and I just color things out, play with them until I figure out what exactly I want to do. So I really like how this turned out. I'm going to use that same glue to attach my card front onto the layers that I already attached earlier. I did put some of my cardstock on top of those layers while it was drying, just to make sure it dried and there was no lifting anywhere. So I'm going to attach my top layer, and again, this allows me some wiggle room, some time to make sure it's centered. I do use foam tape a lot on my top layers, just again to give me some of that time to move stuff around. But for attaching the card to my Slimline card base, I did use some thicker score tape. The card itself was kind of heavy with all those layers, and I wanted to make sure it was nice and secure. Since I made the card base exactly the same size as the card, I didn't have to worry about layering or having one side off, you know, not perfectly centered. So this is my design. I absolutely love it, and I hope you guys are inspired to create something with this fun stencil and stamp set. Be sure to check out the hop and have a great day. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.